Have you ever gotten home from work at night, having had a day where you've been working very hard, running from activity to activity, crisis to crisis, and suddenly you realize right there on the driveway that you haven't gotten anything to show for it, and that you are much more tired than you really ought to be? Hi, I'm Willy Norup. I'm here to tell you today about the Geodex personal management system, which I have developed and which I think will give you a solution to such problems. In fact, it is likely to dramatically increase your personal productivity in all areas of your life, at work as well as at home. Extensive research at client organizations shows that on the average you can expect to increase your personal productivity by somewhere between 40 and 50%. In other words, you are likely to be 1.5 times more productive as a Geodex user than you were before. The same studies show that a Geodex user also experiences a dramatic reduction in stress level, which is not a bad extra dividend to get. Naturally, of course, all this doesn't come about all on its own. What's in it for you is up to you. There is no such thing as a free lunch, and that is in itself a very important lesson, which in a way is a cornerstone for the Geodex philosophy. We have to learn to take control, to be in the driver's seat, for how best to live our lives and spend our time. If you allow yourself to come home with a briefcase full of homework and being super tired and frustrated from having spent a long day with too little to show for it, then you only have yourself to blame if it upsets your spouse, your children, or your friends. Chances are good that it will result in ruined evenings, wasted weekends, and poor sleep at night. You may find yourself returning to work the next morning with a briefcase still full of unfinished projects, and your mind so tired out and full of dark thoughts about having to face the same old rat race once again. That kind of grouchy mood is dangerous for the atmosphere in your office. I bet in less than 2 minutes everyone around you will know it as well, and the team spirit may just drop to basement level. We have to learn that there's a price to pay for achieving happiness and a more productive, fulfilled life. We must systematically take control of our own affairs, making sure that our time is spent to achieve meaningful results and not wasted, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, so that we have too little to show for it. And that is exactly where a lot of people seem to be missing the boat. For example, most of us will grab the phone as soon as it rings, even though the person on the other end of the line could very well be somebody getting through to the wrong number, couldn't it? All around us, we see people handle interruptions or seemingly procrastinate for half a day at a time, half a week at a time occasionally, simply because they don't know clearly what to do next. They don't have a clear idea of what they should be doing. Often, the problem is a lack of a systematic way for result-oriented time management. A lot of people plan their day using some kind of calendar or appointment book, but typically they don't really use these tools effectively. More often than not, the only items that go into the typical calendar or appointment book are the appointments and the meetings scheduled with others. And the empty spaces in between those scheduled appointments leave us awfully vulnerable. If someone comes into you asking for a chunk of your time and you have nothing written on your appointment book or calendar other than your occasional meetings, you would be very likely to say, "Sure, that's fine. My appointment book is empty right now. I'll make time for it." But maybe you shouldn't have been so available. Maybe there was something much more important that you could have been doing in that time slot. However, unless you actually have that in sight, it's likely to be out of mind. Unless you have a clear road map to your destination, you're likely to end up somewhere else. Something else is also important for a happy life, and that is the need to find a proper balance between work and personal and family life. I like to illustrate those areas of life as 3 circles. There's a circle covering ourselves. Each of us is shaped by a unique genetic, ethnic, and cultural background. These influences make us complete, yet uniquely individual and different from anybody else. Yet we are not alone. a second circle, the family circle, also affects us dramatically. We are born into the family, and we create another one by marriage and by surrounding ourselves with friends. But the family also is unique. It has its own reason for living, its own reasons for happiness and unhappiness. And either we can buy into it and benefit from or support that family, or we end up being very lonely and unhappy. In the same way, we have joined a third circle, the circle covering the company, the organization for which we work. But the organization also is unique. It has its own mission, its own objectives, and either we can buy into them and be happy with our work, or we cannot and will constantly complain about our job. In fact, if we have difficulties buying into what our organization does or stands for, it will not take very long before our family will know it and we ourselves will be miserable. Similarly, if we have difficulties with ourselves, if we wake up with nightmares at night or have difficulties with our family, it is very likely to affect our work as soon as the next morning. When we get to the office, we may find that our colleagues will be mumbling, "Hey, what's up? He's in one of those moods again today. Be careful." In my book, The Fundamental Life Challenge, what really makes a person happy is achieving the proper balance between those three circles. That is why we have adopted the three overlapping circles as a Geodex logo. You see them on all Geodex forms as a subtle reminder of this important concept. The three circles will never completely overlap. Your interests will never be exactly the same as those of your family and friends, and they will never be exactly the same as those of the organization for which you work. But a proper balance has to be achieved, or you will never be completely happy. You will always be rather stressed. I contend that a balance where each circle reinforces the other, in fact, can be achieved. You truly can achieve whatever you can conceive of. You can learn to do things a lot faster than you now do, a lot better than you now do, and with a lot less stress, if you will only concentrate on doing the right things. And what are they? Well, the right things are those which help you to get the most out of life in all three important circles. They are those which are effective, not merely efficient. Effective means doing the right things. Efficient, on the other hand, means doing them absolutely right. And it is possible to see people, unfortunately, who are 100% efficient but 0% effective. That's kind of sad to see. They're scurrying around like mad from one crisis to another, from one activity to another, but they have absolutely nothing to show for it at the end of the day. They are basically activity-oriented rather than results-oriented. In order to become a result-oriented person with a proper balance between your three circles, you need a personal management system, a system for reminding you what the right things are, for planning how to carry them out, and for motivating you to see them through. Without such a system, you won't get them done. With it, you have a tremendous opportunity for managing your life the way you want it to be lived. The system that we have come up with centers around a concept called key result areas. This concept has been frequently mentioned in the management literature by Professor Peter Drucker and many others. Key result areas are defined as the main areas of your life on which you must concentrate your efforts and resources to achieve the desired results in all three circles of your life. If you concentrate on key result areas in anything you do, you cannot possibly get lost. You will always have a roadmap for happiness and productive living. After extensive studies of the management literature, it became evident to me that there are a number of key result areas that are common to most people. In fact, it became possible to develop a set of common key result areas that appear to cover all important areas of any person's life. These common key result areas have been adopted as the cornerstones, the main section headings in the Geodex personal management system. The most important sections in the Geodex are an overview section and separate sections for each of the 9 common key result areas. The overview section is called the organization, because it is vitally important to know and constantly be reminded of where your organization is going, so that you can help it get there in whatever capacity you serve. In this section, you would enter such things as your company mission and its overall objectives. You see, if people have to get across a river in a rowboat, it doesn't work very well if half of them are rowing one way and the other half are rowing the other way. A unified approach is necessary, and that is what can be provided in Section O. Section 1 provides similar directions for ourselves. It's called self-development, and in that we define what we want out of life, what we want out of our mind, our body, our career, and so forth. These 2 headings may be seen almost as umbrella headings from which all kinds of important key result areas follow. Peter Drucker has stated that the 2 most important key result areas for any business are marketing and innovation, and these have been adopted in the Geodex system as key result areas number 2 and 3. Any company that does not know how to market itself or its products or services will not be able to stay in business for very long. And similarly, if it cannot constantly innovate and renew itself, it probably won't survive for very long either. But by logical extension, it then follows that these 2 key result areas, marketing and innovation, are equally important for any person helping the company to succeed. We as individuals must constantly market ourselves, our skills and our services, or there won't be any takers for them. And we must also constantly innovate and renew ourselves, or we'll go stale very quickly. These key result areas are almost like little boxes into which we logically put all of our thoughts and plans for those important aspects of our life, so that they don't get mixed up with all the other things we also are interested in and have to do, and so that they can be logically planned and carried out. Similarly, we need a separate key result area, number 4, for human resources, for dealing with people, so that we can separate all of our dealings with people within our organization, externally with vendors, with customers, and so forth. We also need a 5th key result area for finance and profitability issues, where we keep track of and plan and control all job-oriented money responsibilities. In the same way, key result area number 6 deals with productivity issues, our own productivity, our team's productivity, the whole company's productivity. And in key result area number 7, we deal with special projects, things that are often thrown our way and tend to become crises unless we, in the same manner as when one controls a forest fire, literally confine them in one place and handle them in a logical fashion. And then, of course, as I implied earlier, let's not overlook other important areas of our life. Therefore, we have a common key result area in the Geodex system, number 8, for private life affairs, where we can plan and manage our private responsibilities and interests, including our home, our personal finances, our family and friends, and so forth. And finally, there's a 9th section, key result area for public responsibility, where we, in the same systematic yet logical and easy fashion, can deal with our citizen involvement and responsibilities, ranging from participation in church and community affairs to professional and political endeavors. With these common key result areas defined and set up as main sections in your Geodex system, it all comes together very easily. Because for each key result area, you now simply have to define what you want to achieve. We call this an objective. That is, the what, how much, by when kind of statement that many of us have to make in many situations in life. This should be written down, and there's a special form called the Key Result Planner in your system for that purpose. And on that form, you can break down your objective into an action plan so that you can see how to get it achieved. The action plan consists of a series of logical steps, we call them key tasks, which together make it possible for you to achieve your objectives in each key result area. You assign on that form resources to each task, such as time and money. You put deadlines on the tasks, and now you have a beautiful plan for achieving your objective. And that's really all the planning anybody needs to do. Only one important thing is needed beyond that, and that's execution. And that's, of course, the final test of your ability to achieve your results. If you don't execute your plans, you're not going to see anything. Execution in the Geodex system consists of actually blocking off on your time planner forms, in writing, enough time to accomplish each of your key tasks. You do that in detail for the day and the week, and broadly for the month and the year ahead. And that ties it all together in a very nice loop. For each of your key result areas, you define objectives for things you want to see. Those objectives you break down into logical steps. We call them key tasks. Time is then allocated on your time planner forms for each key task in sufficient blocks that will fit your usual energy spans and your needs, and that will meet your deadlines so that you'll be sure to get done what has to be done when it has to be done. In a few brief words, that's really what the Geodex personal management system is all about. It'll help you to concentrate your efforts where they'll produce the best results, namely on the key tasks that pull off your objectives for each of the key result areas covering your life. All the forms and techniques provided with the Geodex system are geared toward this approach. And you'll find that once you have a clear conception of the key result areas covering your life, you can easily define where you want to go in life and readily assess the results you actually get in each key result area. You will now have on hand, wherever you go, wherever you take your Geodex, an easy answer to these questions. Where am I going? That will be in Section O for the company, Section 1 for you, Section 8 for the family, and so forth. What must be done? Those are the objectives that you have defined for yourself in each of your key result areas. And how do you get there? You do that by following the roadmap you have outlined for yourself, the action plan consisting of key tasks that have to be carried out to meet your objectives. And when to do what? The answer to that question is to concentrate your efforts on those key tasks by allocating block time to them on your time planner forms and making sure that you give those time blocks the highest priority each day. That's all there is to it. In a minute, I would like you to turn off the tape so that you can start working with the system itself. But let me first draw your attention to its two main components, the Geodex handbook and the supply and file box. The box contains enough forms to last the average user for at least 1 year, and it also has room for storage of any forms that you may wish to save, for instance daily planners and so forth. And you will see that there are index cards for each month of the year behind which such forms can be stored right there in the box. You will also find in this box a great variety of forms, and it's a good idea to take a couple of minutes to look through them so that you are aware of all the forms which are available to you. A complete picture guide to all of these forms can be found in the information section of your Geodex handbook for quick and easy reference. Again, let me remind you that you don't have to plan on using all the forms, but they are made available to you so that you can pick and choose those that will work best for you. Keep in mind that it's your life that you are going to manage with your Geodex. Therefore, don't hesitate to adapt it to your own needs and interests. Inside the Geodex handbook itself, you will find quite a few forms and many useful techniques, some of which will be immediately interesting to you, but others that you may wish to hold off using for a while. Don't worry about that. The system, in fact, will grow on you as you get into it. We have done our best to design it so that it is universally applicable, and you will find that built into the system is a self-paced personal learning guide, which you can work through either at home or at work at your convenience and at your speed. The contents and the use of each section in the system are explained on yellow pages placed throughout the book. Just like in your telephone directory, the yellow pages are for letting your fingers do the walking. In fact, every conceivable detail you may want to know about using the Geodex system is carefully planted throughout the book in its proper location. In each section of your Geodex, you will first find a yellow page explaining the purpose of that section and detailing how you can most easily get started on using it. Behind that, you will find backup yellow pages which suggest a variety of potential uses for each section and which present in detail blow-ups of various forms so that you can, at your own pace and at your own time, learn more about the system and implement it to its fullest extent. Now please turn off the tape and turn to your personal installation guide on the tab card inserted behind the sheet lifter of your Geodex handbook. If you follow this guide at your own pace, you will find that in just a few hours you will have it loaded up and can begin having fun using it. Now that you have installed your own Geodex system, I would like you to gain a fuller understanding of it by answering some questions we occasionally hear from Geodex users.
Why are the key result areas so important?
A number of highly respected textbooks and papers written on management by objectives and results by such experts as Peter Drucker, George Morrissey, John Humble, and George Odion have suggested that there are common key result areas to which everyone needs to devote time and energy in order to consistently achieve meaningful results. The opinion is that these are areas of critical importance which need to be given proper attention. How one interprets each key result area naturally will vary according to one's job and lifestyle, but when used properly, they can provide a systematic and logical way for managing all the important aspects of life in all three circles controlling life. Think of the payoff. Once you have your life, so to speak, down on paper and separated into logical areas, you know exactly where to put your efforts and what the payoff is likely to be. The idea is to use as many of the common key result areas as you can. If you don't have all of them in use by now, you should at least reflect on why not. For each key area not being used, ask yourself such questions as, can I truly justify not paying attention to this important part of my life? What results might I be able to achieve in this area if I did pay attention to it? By the way, in your Geodex supply box, you will find 10 yellow installation cards, one for each management level in an organization. These cards are good resources for ideas and objectives that you could set for yourself in each of the common key result areas. To establish an overall pattern of living that maximizes the quality of your life, all you really have to do is to constantly analyze the key result areas of your life. And you do that by looking at each of them at least weekly. You should then set specific, measurable objectives for each key result area and make plans to achieve them in manageable steps, which we call key tasks, each with its own deadline. Finally, you must allocate time blocks each day for carrying out those tasks. In this connection, it's interesting to note that a study by the Pacific Medical Center in San Francisco shows that doing one key task each day actually tends to dramatically reduce moods or depression. You simply feel good from the accomplishment.
How much time does it take to use my Geodex on a daily basis once I have completed the installation process?
Truly, there's no extra time required of you to use the system. On the contrary, users typically find several hours of extra time become available because they are so much more organized than they were before. You keep your Geodex with you wherever you go and wherever you work, and you simply work in it, work with it. At the end of each day, you should note down an important key task for tomorrow. This is a simple activity with a high payoff because it will help you to be mentally prepared for what's coming up tomorrow. Similarly, each Friday you should take a few minutes to scan each of your key result areas to identify those tasks that must get done next week so that you can properly mark them on the time planner forms for next week. This gives you a convenient overview, and it helps you to allocate sufficient block time so that you will get it all done no matter what. Naturally, during the week, you are in and out of your Geodex many times to add and retrieve information. But this is not extra work. It is merely doing your work in and with the Geodex. And at the same time, it relieves your brain and systematically replaces all kinds of details which you probably struggled with anyway before you became a Geodex user. The benefits of keeping your roadmap up to date, so to speak, will be increased control and effectiveness. Perhaps the most important point to realize when answering this question on the amount of time it takes to use Geodex is that one works out of Geodex throughout the day. It isn't something that is added on to one's busy day. It's also important to remember that it should be an ongoing process, not something you do once in a while, but something you work with all day long.
Does a person have to be super organized in order to use this system?
Absolutely not. In fact, the Geodex system provides for a tremendous variety of approaches. It is based on the assumption that people will get more out of life and will be more effective and have less stress if they plan for meaningful results and have an effective tool for executing their tasks to achieve those results. This can be done in many ways. Some people need a lot of structure in order to accomplish what they believe is important, and they will use most of the forms in the system. Others will need less structure, and they will use fewer of the forms. By selecting from it what is comfortable for you, you will find that it is a very flexible tool that allows each person the opportunity to define their own degree of structure needed. And of course, you will also find in your box the ultimate solution in form design: blank paper, for those moments where you would really rather just be drawing doodles.
Do I run the risk of losing my creativity and spontaneity when I use the Geodex system?
No, on the contrary, you will find that one of the benefits of becoming a Geodex user is that you will probably have many more ideas pop into your head. The less you find yourself tying up and fatiguing your brain trying to remember this or that, the more your subconscious is able to generate ideas. And since with Geodex in hand, you have the opportunity at any time to overview your entire life by simply scanning each of your key result area sections. You will also find that the quality and quantity of your ideas will dramatically increase and will tend to cover all aspects of your life. Creativity, as any artist knows, requires a fair amount of structure and discipline in order to develop. One Geodex user put it this way to me: even Rembrandt had his Geodex. He called it canvas.
How come Geodex is not in pocket size?
This is a question that I devoted a lot of attention to when I designed the system. I concluded that nobody had a life small enough to fit in a shirt pocket. And also, I didn't want to make it 8.5 by 11 or standard letterhead size, since that would make it very bulky in a briefcase or in a lady's purse. Therefore, you'll find that the Geodex format is exactly half of the 8.5 by 11 or standard letterhead size. This means that it is very easy for you to insert your own material. You can either reduce your material to 50% if you have access to a copy machine that can do that, or you can simply insert a standard letterhead sized paper sideways. Fold it over once or twice and it'll fit. All you need is a single hole punch or an adjustable 6-hole office punch, both of which are available in stationery stores.
My Geodex already has so much of me in it that I fear losing it. What should I do?
Don't worry. People who have lost their Geodex, including one Silicon Valley manager who placed it on top of his car and later saw it fly off on the freeway on the way to San Francisco, find that their subconscious mind helps them out. Most likely you have scanned your Geodex so many times by now that your brain, with its enormous storage capacity, has absorbed quite a bit of the essential data. Inside a few hours, you can expect from memory to load up a replacement Geodex with the most important 20% of the data you lost. This is because you have seen it so many times when scanning your Geodex that you'll never forget it again. Another 40 to 60% you can probably easily obtain from your assistants or colleagues or other files in your office. And the last 20%, why, perhaps you don't need them anyway, because the Geodex units should occasionally be cleaned out.
I'm concerned that I have quite a bit of confidential data in my Geodex, which I don't want anybody to see. What should I do about that?
This question often comes up, and there are various ways to solve it. For one thing, you could buy one of the handmade leather binders with combination locks, which are available from Geodex. Or you could consider writing such personal or confidential data in some sort of personal code or shorthand which only you can understand. Another solution is to set up a set of hanging file folders in a lockable desk drawer, one folder for each of your key result areas. In those, you could keep material that you wish to keep confidential, as well as any 8.5 by 11 sized material which you would like to refer to once in a while, but which you do not have to carry around all the time.
Where do I put all those to-do lists that I currently have?
As a Geodex user, you should have only one to-do list at any given time, and that should be your weekly to-do list made up of a handful of key tasks that you commit yourself to accomplishing before the week is over. The weekly to-do list, which is part of the weekly planner form, is based on the overview of your life, which you get weekly when you review the notes in your key result areas. All other to-do lists should be discarded and the information placed in the appropriate key result area as an objective or key task.
As a manager, how do I best coordinate my schedule with my secretary?
I suggest that each morning your secretary should make a copy of your daily plan for today. I also suggest that your secretary should have access to the time management section of your Geodex. Also consider to have your secretary control and maintain a master appointment schedule. This means that when a manager is away from the office, the secretary can schedule appointments and meetings within predetermined limits. It also means that each manager will have to double-check with the secretary before making definite dates.
Should a Geodex user try to remember everything?
No, absolutely not. Nobody should. You'll be more effective if you deliberately forget what is not important, and if you consciously try not to memorize everything. To avoid drowning yourself and to free your mind for the important things, you should put into your Geodex only those concepts and data that you feel would be helpful in running your life. Let the other people carry what they need to know, or what they need to do, or control. Your own Geodex should contain only what you need to know. You're in charge of your life. It's your life, not his, or hers, or theirs. Yours.
Does the Geodex system conflict with other management techniques that I have been exposed to?
No. On the contrary, you will find that it combines the best features of those other management techniques. For instance, management by objectives and results is a main characteristic of the Geodex system, and it covers other common management techniques as well, such as time management, planning, delegation control, decision making, and so forth. I do hope that these answers have assisted you in gaining a deeper understanding of what Geodex is all about. And I would also hope that you now feel that you are comfortably in possession of a new and marvelous tool for creating your own future. Where am I going? You may now ask yourself. Well, that should already be in your section O for the company, section 1 for yourself, and so forth. What must be done and how do I get there? Those are the specific objectives and their accompanying action plans in terms of key tasks that you have outlined on various key result planner forms. And the last question, when to do what? This is exactly what you should have put down by now in your time management forms. Having come this far with your Geodex, I truly believe that you now have the ingredients for making a happy life, a more productive and less stressful life. The British philosopher Joseph Addison once said that 3 things make for a happy life: something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. You now own a new tool with plenty of room for all of this, and I do hope that you will have a lot of fun using it to get you where you want to go in life.